Excuse me. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. It is Tuesday, January 18th. I'm Carol C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger, coming to you with another episode of Embrace Your Life Chat, where the entire purpose and intention and attention is to help heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. So, normally I'm in Chicago, that is where I live, but the month of January. I am on the Gulf Coast, still Central Time, but let me know where you're joining me from. And also let me know if you're a newbie, because I like to welcome the new people into our community as well. But before we get started on today's topic, I do like to mention a couple things. Hi, Judith. Good to have you here. And I will come into comments too and see if you have questions and welcome everyone. But first, I like to kind of dig in and go for it because I'll keep getting sidetracked, which is really good for what today's topic is. But before I get started, I do like to mention a couple things about me, especially if you're new to my work and to positive focus. And one of them is I'm not an absolutist. I'm not a big fan of the words always, never, right, wrong, good, or bad. There are 7 billion people on this planet. I can't begin to say what is always right for 7 billion people. So I work on the majority. And my scale is 0, always negative, 100, always positive. I don't know anybody to 0, and I don't know anybody to 100, but I do know people who are closer to 0, and I know people who are closer to the 100. My personal practices and the practices I do with my coaching clients in any work that I do is to stay in the 80 to 100% of kindness, love, compassion, and peace. Those are my core values. What does that mean? If I'm in 80 to 100% of the time there, which I am because of my practices, that means fear still visits me, frustration, disappointment, unworthiness, all the normal feelings that we have visit. They just don't move in because I'm aware of how I feel and I move to feeling a little bit better. But I don't know anybody who's 100% positive. I don't know anybody who's 100% kind. My unkindness tends to be directed at myself more than others, but I'm still not kind 100% of the time, even though that is my one of my top 4 values. So, please be gentle with yourselves and kind of figure out where you are on that scale of 0 always negative, 100 always positive, and work to feel just a little bit better. The second thing I like to say is that I am not um, I am a coach. I love coaching. I love supporting people and growing their best lives and the vision that they see for themselves. I am not a counselor nor am I a therapist. And sometimes you need that to be able to move through things. I'm just fully believing, I'm not going to say always, but I really believe the vast majority of people are so very worthy of living their best life, whatever that looks like, to get that support team, whether it's a coach, a counselor, a therapist, maybe it's someone in the clergy, maybe it's just your best friends, but get that support around you for you to live your best life. Hi, Stacia, good to have you here. Hello, Patricia. Hi, Lisa. I'm glad to hear that your son is okay, Lisa. And Dinesh, welcome. It's good to have you here as well. So today's topic is brought up by a community member from last week's live. And I don't remember the exact comment they made, but it was about focus and having a hard time focusing on something. So I'm about positive focus. The funny thing I always tell people is I am positively focused, but that's on 20 things at one time. So even though we're going to talk about focus today, I would not say it's my strength. I tend to be a multitasker. I tend to be pretty good multitasking, but I'm also aware the more that you focus on one thing at a time, the more that you're probably going to be able to get done and really give it your all in that moment. So know that this is something that I continue to work on myself. I don't know of a topic that I would discuss here. Again, I'm not always or never that I've not either practiced myself or been through myself, because that's why I can talk about it. It's because it's something that I've personally witnessed or lived. But so today, again, the word we're going to focus on is focus. And the definition of focus is a point of concentration. So it's, again, just focusing on something is a point of concentration. What I like to do is, if you've been with me before, is I like to come up with affirmations to support what I'm working on. An affirmation is just a statement. It's not a positive or a negative. It's what you say. So when you're affirming, when you're saying to yourself, I am ugly, I am smart, I am beautiful, whatever it is that you're saying the I ams to, you're affirming that for yourself. So you can affirm the things you don't like about yourself, or you can affirm the things that you do like about yourself, or affirm the things that you want to grow into. So maybe right now you don't feel you're smart, but you could start the affirmation to feel smarter. You could also have the affirmation of, I'm very smart. But if you immediately say behind, as soon as you say it, it leaves your lips, and you immediately say, no, I'm not. 10 minutes ago, I did this stupid thing, then that positive affirmation doesn't work for you. So you want to be aware of what you're speaking to yourself. Self talk is so very important. And I think the more you're aware of it, you're going to start first seeing how the negative self talk you have you're not even aware of because most of us are unconscious about our self talk. The more you focus on it and become aware of your thoughts, then that's when you can shift and make changes from there. So, my affirmation for you today is I am focused on all the good in my life does not mean that there is hard things in my life. It means I am focusing on all the good in my life. Doesn't mean I'm pretending that all of everything is good in my life, but that's where I choose to place my focus. Does my focus wander off into what I don't like in my life? Absolutely. Does my focus wander off into what I don't a hard time of, that might be going on in my life? Certainly. But my practice is to return to where I want to be, how I want to focus, and who I want to show up as. So come up with an affirmation that you can say. The more you say it, the more you write it down and read it, it's going to help replace those thoughts that you've had in the back of your head for years and years and years that you've picked up from teachers, from parents, from siblings, from friends, from bosses. And some of those negative thoughts that you may have picked up from others may not have even had the intention of being hurtful, but for whatever reason, they were hurtful to you. So it's about releasing them and replenishing those patterns into empowering, positive, affirming kind of thoughts to draw from when you're making decisions. So again, the affirmation today is I am focused on all the good in my life. What if you're not focusing on the good in your life right now? What if, on a scale of 0 to 100, the good in your life is at 20% because you're in a really hard time, which most of us go through at some point? Again, not going to say everyone. But you could focus on there. What I would do is say, I'm in the process of focusing on all the good in my life. It's still possible to focus, even if it's a smaller percentage. It's just maybe a little bit more challenging. So come up with an affirmation that's going to work for you and then start using it. And that's why I call them daily practices. Something I say today may stick with you and you may be able to run with it and it just works. Other things I say may not work for you at all, and that's fine too. Use what works and then leave the rest behind. But most of us, I would say, require that repeated patterning to make it a habit. They say it takes 21 days to change it into a change habits. I don't know if it's a 21-day process, but I do make daily processes on how I start my morning and how I end my day and to work from there. And gratitude is a massive thing that helps me shift when I'm in a place where I'm not feeling my best self in. So, tips on focus. One, I say it a lot, maybe not every single day, but I say it a lot is awareness. Be aware of how you feel. I took this course from Ayanna Van Sant a few years ago, and I don't remember now. I think it was a 6 week course, but we daily, 3 times a day, had to just stop and write down how we were feeling in that moment. It was taking an emotional temperature. And so it was like, okay, so I'd stop at a certain time, and maybe at that moment I was feeling bored or maybe I was feeling excited, or maybe I was feeling sad, but it made me and the other people in the group really pay attention to how we were feeling moment by moment. Because when we go on autopilot, life is living us, we're not living life. But when we stay in awareness, we can either decide, I'm mad right now and I'm happy to be mad. I need to get this out some way. Or I'm mad right now and it doesn't feel good. What can I do to feel a little bit better? Again, it's not a right or a wrong. It's where you are right now and how does it feel for you? Excuse me. So be aware of how you're feeling throughout the day. when you're first starting to do it, it seems a little overwhelming to like being aware of it, but it's just going to become natural. And I'm certainly not aware of how I feel 24/7 every moment, but because of my awareness, I catch myself when I'm going into the don't wants in my life, the frustrations in my life, the fear in my life. And I also catch myself when I'm paying attention to what I do want in my life. Goodness. So the second one is to ask yourself what it is you want to focus on. And sometimes, and this is a personal decision for you. Sometimes when we're losing our focus, it's because it's something we really don't want to do. And sometimes we lose our focus because we're afraid to do it. It's something that we might want so much. We're afraid that we're going to mess it up. And so, really know for yourself, is it a don't want and this isn't what I should be paying attention to? Or is it I'm not paying attention to it because I'm afraid of it? Or is it I'm not paying attention to it? I think the majority of us have things that we have to do, whether it's in our job or in our family, that are things we don't really like doing, but they're necessary for the rest of the things that we're doing. So ask yourself, is it something that you just need to do and get over and go through and focus on it in that respect? But be aware of why you're doing what you're doing. So then you could bring that energy of, okay, I've used this example, I heard it from Sark many years ago. Farmers have to put manure down in the spring to yield their crops in the fall. They probably don't like doing that aspect of their job, but they know at the outcome it's going to be crucial and beneficial for them. So if you're needing to focus on some things that don't aren't things that you want to do, but you know they're going to be in the long run beneficial, use that as your way to stay focused as well. So ask yourself, and then what is your best time of day to work on things? I am I'm kind of shifting a little bit, but I've pretty much been a night owl all of my life. So I am my top energy is more in the afternoon and throughout the evening, where some people are get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't know that I'll ever be that person, but know when your best energy is and then work on those things that are easier for you or the harder things first when you have more energy to be able to focus on it in that moment. But also know that if you're not focused on it, I again go back to what's holding me back from focusing on it. Why is this something that I don't want to focus on? Knowing I am not a good focuser myself, so I totally understand on that. And then the next tip is to turn off notifications. That's a challenge for me. But turn off, you don't have to necessarily turn off your phone, but silence your phone. Close your email for however long that you're going to set focus on. I would encourage you to block time for your focus. So let's say you have a project that is going to require several hours of work to get done, but maybe do a 50-minute block where I'm just going to pay attention to this project for 50 minutes. In my 10-minute break, I'll check my email, maybe my phone or whatever, but block it into a bite-size amount of time, especially if it's something you don't want to focus on. If it's a passion of yours, you could probably block it for a little bit longer. But if it's something that you're struggling with, giving that attention, and I would encourage you because I personally do have a hard time with that 50-minute block. I'm wanting to check my email or I'm wanting to check my phone. So maybe start with it being 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes where you're not going to look at social media, you're not going to look at your phone. You're not going to look at your email. Now, if you're in a job that requires like a lot of your communication is via email, so you can't shut it down for 2 hours during your day, well, then know that too. It's not a right or a wrong, it's what's going to work for you. But if it's something where you're in a lot of conversation with people, maybe do it where you're checking it every half an hour or checking it once an hour or look at what's going to work for you because I know I've had clients where that is the way we communicate is through email. So me not checking it for 6 hours when the project needs to be done that day isn't going to work. So look and see what's going to work for you. And then reward yourself. So if focus is a hard thing for you and you're practicing it and you're trying it on to see if it works, give yourself kudos when it does work. Give yourself kudos for trying it out. And you're probably going to slip up. You're probably, when you first turn those notifications off, may not do the full hour or 3 hours or whatever you've decided. but the more you practice it, the easier it will become. And I promise you, the world, I tell myself this all the time, the world's going to continue whether or not I answer that email in an hour or 8 hours from now. So it's really about getting comfortable and focusing on what it is you want to do, bringing kindness and love to the focus of the things that you don't want to do, but that you know are necessary to do, and be gentle with yourself through the process. So I'm going to come in here and check comments. Hey, Brian, good to see you. Somebody that I actually know in person. A lot of the people in our community are friends from afar, and that's one of the things that I love about this community is that there's people from all over the world here. I don't see any questions. Let's see. Cheryl, hello. Emmy, thank you for being here. Yeah, I don't see any questions. If you have any questions, choose what you use the real estate of your mind to house. Brian, I love that. So it's choose what you use the real estate of your mind to house. And it's so true because when we are our self-talk or we're focused on what we don't want, we are giving that the energy to grow. I cannot express enough that that doesn't mean pretending your life is perfect, but it does mean about bringing some love, kindness, compassion, and peace to the hard spots, knowing that the more that you're compassionate with yourself, the easier it is to move through those harder times. And gratitude is a great resource to move through the challenging times. So I don't say always or never on it, but one thing that I come very close to saying never to is beating yourself up. It's a practice, and when you catch yourself doing what you don't want to do, or you catch yourself not focusing, or you catch yourself being negative, award yourself, like pat yourself on the back, because now you're aware of it. And with awareness, you can shift and change. When you're aware of this doesn't feel good, what would feel a little bit better? Most people aren't going to go from depression into joy in a moment. Again, I'm not going to say always or never, but the majority of us, it takes steps to make those shifts. So it's about being gentle with yourself through the process. One of my daily questions I ask myself is who do I want to be and how do I want to show up in the world? And I want to show up as a loving person. I want to show up as a kind person, a compassionate person, and a peaceful person. I am that person probably even closer to 90% of the time because I've made it a daily practice for many, many years. Fear visits me still, frustration, anger, disappointment, all those things still visit me, but they are in the minority of my day. I'm not 100% positive. If you know anyone who is, I would love to meet them. I do know some people who are probably 98% positive, but even with those people, they aren't people that I know in real life. So behind closed doors, they may be not positive. So I just don't know that there is anybody who is 100% positive. The contrast is something that allows us to really appreciate when things are going the way we want them to, when we're focused on what we want life to look like, when we're focused on if you want a kinder world or kinder life for yourself, start being that in your world. If you want a more loving world, start being that in your world. If you want a more compassionate world and peaceful world, start to be that in your world and let that shift out. It's not about ignoring or pretending things aren't hard or ugly or bad. It's about bringing love, kindness, compassion, and peace to those hard moments in your life, too. So, Stacy, even in the darkest night, there is always light in the morning. I read that and I felt it was really good. I love that, too. And when you think about that, because I can be a literal person sometimes, I mean, there are places in the world that has 24 hours of darkness, but still at some point the light's going to be there. A bad storm, there's going to be some light that comes through it. So it's where you're going to place your focus. And if you're going through a really hard time right now, please don't think that you have to be positive, you have to be happy. Feel what you need to feel and move forward to feel a little bit better. Just take one step today. It, your day, the biggest step might be getting out of bed today, and that it could be a massive step for you. Somebody else, the big step might be turning in a book proposal today. You are competing against you, if you want to call it competition. But I encourage you to each day, each moment, ask yourself, how can I be the best version of myself? My best version when I'm sick and not feeling good is less than my best version when I feel really good. But it is the best version of me in that moment. So I hope that helps. How do you stay focused with so many distractions? Lisa, great question. And if you caught me at the beginning, I would say I am not the expert on staying focused because I definitely am a multitasker. But what are your distractions, Lisa? First of all, I'd like to know that because, and what you're focusing on. If I'm a lot of my work is social media. So I do spend a lot of time online in social media, but I try to do it where it's like, okay, I'm focused on responding to comments. I'm doing these videos. I'm not trying to, I do like to scan because I want to comment on other people's stuff too, but I am not just using it as a distractor for getting work done. And social media could be a challenge for a lot of people because a lot of people do have work here as well. A lot of people think social media is really negative, or people are pretending their lives are perfect. But it's really about what's going to work for you there. And Lisa, so maybe it's putting your phone away, and that gives me heart palpitations to think about it, honestly. But it's put your phone away for, 2 hours or whatever. That is if you're able to. I know your child is an adult, but some people, if they have kids, they need to be able to respond to an emergency right away. But I would ask yourself, Lisa, what is it that I want to focus on? Why is this important to me? And what am I allowing to be distractions? Because at the end of the day, we're allowing those distractions in, and it might be because this isn't where we're supposed to be focused right now, or it might be that we're afraid to focus on this right now. It might be we have ADHD and need medication or support in that way. Again, it's not a right or wrong, it's just what's going to work best for you. But I would inquire each time that I'm noticing that I'm not focusing is, why am I allowing this to distract me? And I can easily be distracted, like the whole saying, shiny object, shiny object. But if you're able to, if focus is a hard thing for you, maybe instead of start with 50 minutes, start with 10 minutes. I'm going to do just this. And your mind's probably still going to wander, and you're going to just keep coming back to focusing on this. Your mind's going to wander, and you're going to keep coming back to focus on that. It really, for me, is a practice to get into that space of focus. Okay, you worry about your son on the road. Lisa, 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 that is so understandable and so difficult. And I really do think that we've kind of been brought up to believe worrying about someone is showing love. And I heard this many years ago, and I would love to attribute it to who I heard it from, but I don't know. Is you cannot love and worry at the same time. So, love is a high energy, worry is a low energy. You can go back and forth really quickly, but I would encourage you, when you get into that place of focusing, like he just drove through a snowstorm, to focus on when you're worrying about him is to shift it, send him love. I'm worried about him, shift it, send him love. I'm worried about him, see him safe. I'm worried about him, see him being able to stop to be safe. But the more we worry about our situation, the people we love, worry about ourselves, we are giving the energy of that lower energy space to grow. You I do believe you can't worry and love at the same time. I think you can shift back and forth pretty quickly, but at least I encourage you to just be aware again of how you feel. And when you find yourself worried about your son, worried about anything in particular, shift that into seeing the what you want out of the situation rather than seeing what you're afraid of in the situation, because worry is about fear. Worry is about, we're worried about things not working out the way we want them to. The more that we can focus on what we want them to be, the more we're going to allow that space to grow too. Ukraine is in the house. Thank you, Lena, for joining. I don't see any other questions for now. Brian, it was so good to see you here. Yeah, I don't see any other questions. So thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate this community. Again, it's not about life being perfect. I love to say that this life is both beautiful and messy. And the more that we can embrace it all and be gentle with it, the more we're going to create the lives that we want to live in. So go out there, have a great day. Focus on love, kindness, compassion, peace, gentleness, and all things that are going to bring some goodness into your life and into the world. And we will talk tomorrow. I don't recall. I thought I had a topic picked out for tomorrow, but I don't remember it now. But it will be about something to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows through a positive focus. 11:30, right back here. I'm here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays to hopefully give you new ways to look at the world through the lens of love, kindness, compassion, and peace for yourself and for others out there. So go out there. I'll check one more time. If any of you have questions that you would like me to approach on another live, please add that in here too. Um, yeah, so I don't see any other questions. So thanks so much for being here. Remember, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to the world. And most importantly, you matter to you. We'll talk soon tomorrow, actually, 11:30 Central Time. So long for now.